The topic of my documentary is nerds, and I will be exploring how they are portrayed in the media versus what they are really like. I will also be looking into why people identify themselves as nerds in the first place, as well as the differences in how nerds express themselves and their various passions. The narrative of my documentary is about how the nerd subculture has created a supportive environment for individuals who may have felt marginalized or misunderstood. This will allow for me to explore the heart of the subculture and discover how it has given people who have interests that are outside of the norm a sense of belonging in the world. My 3-act structure is Act 1. What are nerds? Act 2. Meet the nerds. Act 3. How I would define a nerd. The first act will lay out the dictionary definition of what a nerd is to introduce the viewer to the concept of what a nerd is. The second act will talk about the different types of nerds and why people consider themselves to be nerds in the first place. The third act will summarize all of my findings and define what a nerd is, in my own opinion. The style of documentary that I will be using is investigative, with interviews and B-roll visuals which are related to the nerd subculture as a whole. I will be using this style of documentary to find out about what makes the nerd subculture such a diverse and inclusive community, as well as finding out what nerds think defines a nerd in their own opinions. There will be interviews in my documentary, and I will conduct them in person around Newcastle and Newcastle College. I will be using the Vox Pop style of interviewing because it will allow me to get more genuine personal views and opinions from people who are involved in the nerd subculture, as well as contrasting opinions from people outside of the nerd subculture. The locations that I will be using are Newcastle, HMV, Forbidden Planet, and the Geek Retreat. I will be using these locations as these tend to be the kinds of places where the nerds gather in large groups to express and fulfill their nerdy passions.